And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast, previewing the 2022 Waste Management Open. The PGA Tour season officially begins this week. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Always Press DFS. I'm at BD Entrick, and my co-host is always on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. Jesse, how we doing, man?
Doing well, dude. How are you?
Doing well. Pebble wasn't as bad as people make it out to be, but I get why people hate it, but it was still fun, I thought. But what were your thoughts on Pebble?
Yeah, I didn't watch much on Saturday. I was more locked into college basketball, but I watched all of it on Sunday that was on TV, and I thought the coverage was better than years past, at least from what I remember. Sunday, it was all like legitimately golfers, PGA Tour pros versus the celebrities. I don't know if that was more maybe Saturday that shit happened, but and then the golf, I mean, it was great as far as some good drama and stuff coming down the stretch. So,
yeah, Saturday
pleasantly
was
surprised. I still fucking hate the event, but
yeah, it's rough. But Saturday was a celebrity slump fest. Because I got to watch most of Saturday, and it was every Bill Murray shot you could have, every one of them, and I literally the worst part about that, what I took out of it was he's getting so old now. There's only so many years left because he can't swing it like he used to,
yeah.
and I know he doesn't care about embarrassing himself, but there's a point where you're just like, I'm over this.
Yeah.
So it was like he did a handful of like Phil Mickelson's putting it before it stopped rolling type thing on the second putt. So yeah,
I saw his little backhanded make too somehow, some way, but
yeah, that was a miracle.
yeah. What
But
about?
yeah,
Did you see? I'm assuming you did if you watched the coverage. Spieth's shot on
I was
six.
No, it was on
Seven?
eight.
Seven?
Eight.
Okay.
It's after
Yeah.
7.
Gotcha.
I was shitting my pants for him. And one thing I'll say, and I knew I'd love it the second they hired him to do it because he was almost strictly golf channel. He has his podcast, Colt Nost. I knew I'd love him on the mic because the dude's one of the dudes basically. And he was basically giving the play-by-play of everybody else. They're like, what is he doing? This is stupid. Like all these things. And watching Spieth do it, because it was ironic. The day before on Friday, I had a shot at this course and it had the pond behind me, and I'm on this like angle on this squishy shit where I didn't know if I took the wrong step, I'd fall. And I had to swing without falling backwards. Not the same thing, obviously, because he had a gigantic cliff in front of him, but I kind of had an idea of the panic mode. And then you hear Spieth afterwards saying he's an idiot and should never have done it. Gellerman flat out said, I'm just going to pick his ball up and throw it in the ocean next time before he hits it. And but back to Colt Nost, what was great is it was like, but when they're walking to the green, he said he texted Max Homa's caddy because they're buddies and goes, what would you have done? He said, I would have snapped Max's clubs before he shot that. Like, I would not have let him do that. So it was wild, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously it was a sketchy shot, but like, I feel like if anybody can pull it off, it's a pro. I mean, like I wouldn't hit that shot for myself because like it's not worth it for me if I'm playing Pebble Beach to potentially die. But as a pro, I mean, that's like he took a big old wide stance and he knew he wasn't going forward at all.
He was falling backwards the whole time.
I mean, and it took off running as soon as he hit it. I mean, and hit a pretty miraculous shot.
I was shocked how he even got to the green. I thought he was going to be punching it, whatever. But that's like you said, he was falling backwards. And if you watch like the video closely, you could see how much weight was on that front left foot, basically anchoring him away from the edge.
Yeah. But I mean, he was leaned way back, and that's why he hit so thin. But yeah, I mean, otherwise the golf was good. I mean, we had another, kind of long shot with Tom Hogue at was he about 60, 70 to 1?
Yeah, give or take, yeah.
Winning and chasing down the big dogs. I mean, Spieth and Cantlay both up there at the top or toward the top with a chance to win. So, I mean, Pebble brings good golf, and
yeah,
I just wish that there was some way we could just have just Pebble Beach for 4 days, but whatever. We at least get it for a couple, and now, like you said, we get to move into the actual fucking real golf. Yes. Very excited for the next few weeks here.
And I got one more takeaway from Pebble. It's kind of what you said there is like with Hoagie and like the big dogs. What I did love about it, even Saturday and then going into Sunday for sure, I love leaderboards where it's like you have a couple of the big names and then some like the guys that all of us that play a lot, we like the Putnams, the Hoagies, like these guys we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Seeing them have like Dahlman, like that, I love that.
Troy Merritt. Didn't you mention
Yeah.
Troy Merritt last
Yeah,
week?
I had him in like 25% of my lineups. Yes. I had like almost 50% Putnam. This like when I said last week, and I know people probably get frustrated because we record early, but I always say like come into the Slack, the Discord if you want. I literally Wednesday, like I said, as I went in and looked at ownership, and I went heavier on like the sub 10% projected guys,
which was the way to go because 6 of 6 was like 1%.
Yeah.
And then we had the MDF, which
that sucked.
We haven't had in years.
Yes.
I mean, when was the last time? I guess maybe 2019.
It's been out of the realm for at least 2 years, if not 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so most people didn't even know what an MDF was.
That was funny watching Twitter explode on that one.
Yeah. Well, it was also trying to figure out whether it was top 60 or top 65 for that tournament. But either way, yeah, that brought back some different memories and different shit we've been through with DFS golf. But yeah, man, that Troy Merritt call by you. I didn't have Bo Hostler. If you played
I think 1 or 2 Bodas because he rated out well, but I did not have a ton.
Matt Fitzpatrick had a good week, man. And looking back on it, like you could have got him a low owned too there. So yeah.
Him Kadire. There's a handful, and like I'm gonna already preface it before we get to picks. When I started clicking boxes on Fantasy National, this field's so loaded, you can make arguments for a lot of dudes in this field. It feels almost like a major. So I'm 100% going to be locking back in Wednesday afternoon or evening and be like, okay, this is how we're going to separate ourselves type thing and try to take a few shots at it. But before we get into it, Waste Management Open, like you said, 135 golfers, not 156, still kind of a daylight time situation, even though I think they can get it in, but it's a little wild out there. So pace of play kind of gets affected once in a while. Just going to throw it out there. But it's full 50,000 fans a day they're shooting for, which is going to be awesome personally to see because 16 is an experience. But 135 golfers, a lot of course history comes into play. It's the third. Data Golf said it's the third most relevant course for course history or event history. Keep that in mind. With all that being said, got some past event history for us?
Yes. So this has been played here for 35 straight years or something at the same golf course. So course history is most definitely a factor. Last year, Brooks Koepka won his second title, 19 under, 1 shot over KH Lee and Xander. 2020 was Webb Simpson's year, 17 under in a playoff over Tony Finau. Ricky won this in 2019, 17 under, 2 shots over Brandon Grace. Woodland was the 2018 winner, 18 under in a playoff over Ches. Hideki won it back-to-back in 17 and 16. He was 17 under and 14 under in those years, and both of them were in a playoff. The 17 year was over Webb, and the 16 year was over Ricky. 2015 was Brooks again. Phil Mickelson, who's not playing this week, has won this 3 times, but that's it really as far as like what really matters.
Yeah, Phil, I think we're starting to see the cash grab Phil time because we saw him go to Saudi. He always plays Pebble, always plays it. Didn't play Pebble. Usually always plays Phoenix because he's an Arizona State guy. It's usually him and Rahm for the first 2 rounds. That ain't happening. I think he's getting to that age bracket where he's like, you know what?
Well, we're here to make money. I don't know if you saw. He had some interesting quotes.
The quotes? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Would you like to elaborate on that?
I don't know what his plan is. I mean, if I'm Phil Mickelson and I'm as old as he is and like getting ready to be on the Champions Tour and obviously not really able to keep up with these new guys, I would highly consider taking a big ass payday. Yeah. He's a gambler by nature, I feel like, and that would be a huge gamble. But
you know what they should do is they should pay him to commentate the Saudi tour. Like play if you want, but on the weekends when you miss the cut, come commentate for us.
If CBS could get him, man, and get fucking Faldo out the booth, dude.
Yeah, put him in there. Get Faraday going. Like just get this group and just
out.
Make it happen.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Like they need to stop this NBC, CBS. I get it, money, whatever. Just have one group of commentators for the whole season, please. Like because Faraday's NBC, he's the best personally. Like if they unleash him. When they hold him back, it sucks. But you know what I'm saying. It's just
I do.
What they could do they want to grow the game. Like here's how you grow the game pretty quickly. But Phil had some choice words, but I don't know. Did you see Brooks fight
I did.
back?
Yeah. Talk about
awesome.
I wouldn't be talking about being greedy. Yeah. I mean, Brooks has some balls. I'm sure they have a pretty good relationship though too, for him to say that. So
yeah, I love that kind of trash talk. That's like just being with the boys. This is how we talk trash. That was awesome. Dom in the chat says he feels like Phil's comments were similar to Russ Wilson requesting to trade last offseason. He fired off his quotes and then thought he would have people on his side, but nope, didn't happen. Yeah, Phil's kind of sitting in the wind right now. And then HV3 goes and wins over there. We didn't even mention that. Did you see the eagle putt he made?
I did. That was quite insane. I mean, to win a fucking golf tournament
on that.
And I mean, the guys won 2 now, and I think one of them was in Australia, like the Australian Masters.
Yep.
So this is his second event that he's ever won, and hasn't won anything on the PGA Tour at this point. But that's a huge win for, him for sure.
If you're a course history believer, he checks boxes this week. So we'll talk about him shortly. But you mentioned some passive in history. When we talk golf course here, you mentioned 30 plus years here at TPC Scottsdale, 7,261 yards, par 71, only 3 par 5s, 11 par 4s, 4 par 3s. Don't worry about the grasses because wherever you listen to, it's like 70 different blends depending on who you listen to. It's a Bermuda with blends, put it that way. It'll resemble like sawgrass. It's very fast, not super slopey, but like 17, massive slope to the water. But there was a stat I read, like anywhere from 10 to 15 feet out were like the most made putts on tour in recent years because it's so fast and the speed. A lot of these bad putters prefer speed. They talk about it all the time. That's why like Matsuyama and stuff do well at this course. So it's technically Bermuda with overseas, but who cares? You're going to want par 5 scoring, 550 to 600, because you can eagle all these. You can get to all these in 2. The thing with these greens, they're large. They're like twice as big as Pebble, which are the smallest on tour. These range from 7,000 to 8,000 square feet, which means 3-putt avoidance will be big. And that's why like guys get to a lot of these par 5s in 2, but it's a lot of 2-putts and pray that you don't 3-putt situations. So keep that in mind. But there are eagle chances if you're knocking it stiff. Approach game is going to be key. The ball will travel farther because it's like thin desert air / a little bit of elevation, and it's firm and fast. So it's going to roll a ton. The rough isn't super penal, but with the approach game on these very hard, non-receptive greens, like always, if you're in the fairway, you got a better chance to spin stuff and make things happen. So you want to look at that. You can go to the native areas to avoid the cactuses and that other fun stuff. The front nines, more houses involved. Back nines pretty much wide open, but there is a lot of water in play on these courses. Like it's a good finishing setup. The par 5 15's got water pretty much all around it. If you guys remember, James Hahn had a chance to do some damage last year. He found the drink, basically opened the door for Brooks. You got the 16 stadium hole, which everybody loves. The drivable par 4 17 that we remember Smiley. No, it wasn't Was it Smiley Kaufman? No. Ollie Schneiderjans putted off the green. He drove it and then putted it all the way off because they're that fast. And on Sunday, the pins in the corner were just rolls on out. So you got to be careful there. And then the 18's fun. You got the coffin bunkers on both sides. They're gettable, scoreable holes, but at the same time, if you're kind of too wayward, you'll eat your lunch. So it's a very good golf course. Approach game's key. I'd say par 4s. It's like half and half, like 4 to 450, 450 to 500. If you're looking at certain metrics, the most common, looking at Fantasy National, the most common approach shot was 150 to 175. You'll get some longer ones due to the longer par 4/ par 5s, but your main target demo is 150 to 175. And you're going to want to scramble pretty good because like I said, those greens are firm and fast, so it's hard to catch them, like I said. So what stats are you looking at this week?
Yeah, I mean, off the tee matters quite a bit. Plenty of course history, so I weight that. And then, kind of accuracy over distance. It's not overly long, and you really want to be able to be in play. Because if you ever played desert golf, there's plenty of places to hit it where it's not in play.
Yep, I'm with you. And also to the vein of the thin air, the ball goes farther. This is one of the courses with the longest driving distances on tour, so it lets the short hitters keep up. Like I think last year, the average drive was like 308 or something. So that tells you the ball can carry out here pretty good. So some less than driver situations if they choose. Before we get into the DK picks, as always, fansharesports.com, big friend of the show. Use promo code ALWAYSPRESS for a discount on the package of your choice. You can do a lot of different things here. I did last 10 events in a strong field, which this is a very strong field, one of the best fields they've ever had here. DK scoring, John Rahm, Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Scotty Scheffler, Victor Hovland, Hideki Matsuyama. So the big dogs show up in the big fields. Last 10 events, par 71, 7,000 to 72. It's technically like 72, 61. But with elevation, I picked the lower bracket here. Vic Hovland scores out well here. McNeely, who's out now. Kuchar, Berger, he's a question mark. Dahlman and Answer check the boxes here. And then I did a combination of the last since 2016 all the way through last year between the Waste Management and the Shriners, because the Shriners is in Vegas, a massive desert type course, a lot of similarities in those two golf courses. So just kind of an idea of who scores well DK wise in those events. Patrick Cantlay, Usti, Matthew Neesmith, Chasen Hadley, Xander Schauffele, Brooks, Ricky Fowler. So there's some names to kind of get an idea of what's going on. But with all that being said, Jesse, let's get into some DK action on this wonderful, wonderful Waste Management podcast. 10K and above, John Rahm, 11.6, JT, 11,000, Cantlay, 10.7, Hideki, 10.4, Vic Hovland, 10.2, and Vic won over in Europe recently because that won't show up in most of your stats. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's, pick your poison up here. Yeah. For me, on my just from a model perspective, it's John Rahm, and then everybody else. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. He's not missed a cutter since 2015. His worst finish is 16th. I mean, he's like, I played golf at Arizona State. He probably got a house in the area. I don't know, but I mean, it's John Rahm. The other guy that I'm like really interested in is Hideki, 10-4. I mean, he tends to come in under-owned in a lot of events, especially when you look at like JT being up there, Cantlay obviously playing very well. So just from an ownership perspective, I kind of like the playing Hideki and being able to get kind of, a little bit lower ownership on him. Obviously, the guy's won here twice. He won back-to-back years in 17 and 16, and has won twice in his last 4 starts. So pretty fucking good.
Yeah, he's locked in right now. It's like those years he won back-to-back all the way through before last year's T42. I saw he was gaining almost a total of 5 strokes per tournament, which is pretty impressive for just anybody in general. And that's when he wasn't playing consistently good golf. Like everyone said, he couldn't close, and now he's closing. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out here. And I love Hideki, like you said. I've been rolling with him most of this like season because of the ownership game. And this top area is a perfect ownership play. All 5 of these guys rank in the top 9 in my model. Like they're all like phenomenal. Like you said, don't have to say a whole lot about them. And honestly, Victor would probably be higher if we had the Euro stats. He'd probably be even higher than this.
Right.
So these guys are all phenomenal. The only thing I could say, if you have to cherry pick anything, Cantlay's never played here before. Doesn't really stop me from liking Patrick Cantlay because he's that locked in. Hovland's only played here once, missed the cut in 2020. Not too worried about that either. But all these guys are legit awesome plays. Like Rahm, T13, T9, T10, T11, T16. Thomas, T13, T3, T17. Like these guys all play great golf here. So pick your poison.
It's just hard to pick apart any of these guys, and none of them really have bad course history. I mean, it's just like we've said multiple times, basically flip a coin. I mean,
like in the 20 maxes, I'll probably have 10 to 15% of each of them, and maybe go heavier like on the lowest owned one is what it'll come down to, because you can make arguments for some 6K guys in this field, some low 7K builds. Like
it's definitely doable.
It's a loaded field. So I definitely will play the ownership game here, but I will have a little bit of each of them. I guarantee you that.
For what it's worth too, like I for some reason I played on FanDuel for the championship game, so the NFL championship game weekend. So I've got some money on there or whatever. So I went and made a lineup over there, and it was really comfortable to put in Rahm and Hideki in the same lineup.
Oh, jeez. FanDuel never fails on their pricing.
Well,
they're unbelievable.
The biggest problem with FanDuel is their app sucks. Yeah. It's the absolute stone cold worst.
Have they fixed it so you can actually reserve tournaments now?
Yeah, you can. Yes.
Okay, because that was the thing that used to bug me the most.
And you can mass upload, but like just looking at it like I just want to just throw my phone. It's the worst when you're used to dealing with DK and you go to FanDuel. It's awful.
Dom Walton has a couple more. He's great at info. He's always in the Discord, like we talk about. Heading into this event last year, Decky was 23 of his 24 rounds under par at TPC Scottsdale. Pretty good. And then Rahm lives in Arizona and finished T14, T16, even as an amateur. So if you want to add on to that last 5 tournaments I talked about, throw the amateurs on top. Pretty remarkable stuff.
Yeah.
So like we said, is you play the ownership game, maybe any little bit of weird news, like kind of pay attention to, but we know that we don't get breaking news on golf. So that's how it works. 9K range. Now it gets a little more fun. You got Spieth at 99, Xander all the way down to 97. Like in years past, that a loaded field, he was guaranteed like second most expensive guy. Not right now. Brooks, the defending champion, at 94. Burns down to 93. Berger, 92, who withdrew last week with a back injury he suffered at the Farmers, so keep an eye on that. Scheffler, 91. Bubba, 9,000. And Bubba had a big weekend in Saudi as well. And Bubba loves this golf course.
Yeah. Start up top with Jordan Spieth at 99. I mean, his course history isn't necessarily the very best, but every time he's made the cut, which is 3 to 5 years, he's finished inside the top 10, including a fourth place finish last year, coming off a second place finish last week. I mean, I don't think Jordan's going to get a whole lot of talk this week. Xander will. I've already seen his name everywhere. He hasn't missed a cut here in 4 years. Finished second here last year. Hasn't missed a cut in forever on tour. Played a couple tournaments already this year, and I mean, not necessarily great finishes, but I think he's fine. Sam Burns at 9,300 is a guy that I've got some interest in. He finished 22nd here last year. He's coming off a miscut at the Farmers. But obviously was playing really, really good golf before that. You know, didn't have a finish worse than 19th in his 5 previous starts to that Farmers. So, you know, he's not been as good in this calendar year, but, you know, if he can figure it out. And then Scheffler at 91, he rates out really well on my model. 7th here last year, and is, you know, a couple top 25s already this year on tour. So I think Scheffler at 91 there is a bit of a steal in my opinion.
It's a fun range again. Like Spieth, I don't have checked off yet because he rates out really poor in my model, surprisingly.
Yeah. No, the model he's rated terrible in mine too.
Yeah. But it's like you said, even last week before Berger withdrew, he was getting very low ownership. And I'm so mad because I went off of him because everyone went to Spieth. That would worked out pretty well. But that could be another thing because it was this tournament last year where we really saw his coming back party. Because this was before Pebble usually. Right. So he had a big week and kind of blew it in the final round. Kind of the driver disappeared again. Could be an interesting play, like you said. Xander at 97, everyone will be on. I get it. I do. But he even rates out pretty poorly in this model, but great course history if you want to follow that trend. I do like Sam Burns. He's 12th on my model. He rates out very well in pretty much every category except the par fours from 450 to 600. Everything else is beautiful. Hopefully that miscut brings him down a little bit. Berger's second in my model. I just have no idea where he's at with that back injury. And with such a loaded field, I'm probably going to stay off of him, and that could backfire tremendously.
Well, you know, if the fucking hopefully somebody asks him a question, assuming he has a press conference this week, and we get a little bit of information about it, because it's amazing that people were talking about it, like nobody asked him about his back at all whatsoever in his press conference last week. So, but back injuries, man, and when golfers,
just one little tweak, man. Just doesn't.
But if he plays, I'd say he'd be very low owned.
Yeah, I will pivot and be cussing at my phone halfway through Thursday probably. But like he rates out phenomenally. His course history here is great. Like he fits this very well. And $9,200 from a guy we've been paying 5 digits for most of the time.
Right.
That's pretty tempting for sure. Love the Scotty Scheffler call, 16th my model. Massive birdie score. We know he can play on courses like this. He's got a great approach game, and hopefully comes in lower owned as well. You didn't mention him, but Bubba at 9,000 rates well here. You know, course history, T22, T3, T4, T40 his last 4 years. It goes deeper than that. He's been phenomenal. Are you on or are you off, Bubba? What are you doing with a $9,000 Bubba who probably will be popular?
Yeah, that's a huge price increase for Bubba. I mean, he's got the course history, obviously. Does play very well around here, but I don't know, man. I wouldn't talk anybody out of playing him. I just don't know that I will this week. It's more like a wait and see for me.
If he comes in like projected low ownership, I'm much more intrigued.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I just have a feeling he'll be high owned, and for that reason, and people probably hate comments like this, but I think he's a very good cash game play because I think he makes the cut. But does he have, the equity of $9,000? That's the conundrum right now. So, I think he's a great cash game play because outside of once or twice in his entire career, he's made the cut and usually made it rather easily at this golf course. It's just, he could easily go T45 and no one would be shocked. But in cash, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. All right, 8K range. You got Finau at 89, Usti 88, Fitz 87, Webb 86. That shocked me when I saw that earlier today. Adam Scott 85, Seamus Power. Man, what happened on Saturday and Sunday at 84? Connors 83, Russ 82, Hoagie 81, Hinglish 8,000. This is why this feels like a major. This $8,000 range is ridiculous.
Yeah, when Seamus, when I didn't expect him to like collapse because I mean obviously he was playing Monterey too. We didn't talk about this.
Yeah,
He was playing Monterey
the
on Saturday.
Golf course, man.
He tore up Spyglass and Pebble, and then just disappeared. Yeah, and then didn't play well. I expected him to bounce back better on Sunday and put him on a showdown team, and he did not play very well. But me and my friends were texting, and they're all members at Champions, which is where the Barbasol played, and Seamus won that last year, and Troy Merritt is also a past champion of that tournament at Champions, and so we were comparing. I mean, basically Pebble Beach and Champions.
So in the future, we need
same
to look at a Barbasol model and send it to Pebble.
It's basically the same golf course. I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's what. Okay, it's funny you mentioned that. No, just a quick sidetrack because I've walked the course hundreds of times, and I've had I was playing close by on Friday, and someone goes, "Do you think we could play Pebble?" I said, "Yeah." I said we could. Like our mistakes would get eaten a lot more than a pro. Like even our mistakes a pro could get out of because it's not a long golf course. It's kind of open. If the rough's not too bad, it's a very gettable golf course. It's just don't get distracted by this large blue thing on your right.
Yeah.
And which will get right into your head. And then if it gets windy, you're in trouble. But if it's like a calm, beautiful day, which most of the weekend was this past week, it's a very gettable golf course.
And there was no rough. Like they had that rough cut way down. Yeah. Because of the amateurs, you don't want.
It's a very gettable golf course.
Am's really looking for. So Louis Oosthuizen at $8,800. 11th here last year, 3rd in 2017 in his 2 starts. His last start was a DQ. At least that's how Fantasy Labs has it listed here, which was the RSM Classic. So he hasn't played in a while, which makes him a little bit sketchy. Adam Scott, my model likes him quite a bit. He's never played here, which is surprising to me, but he's coming off a 9th place finish in Dubai a couple weeks ago. I don't know if he played last week or not. Corey Connors, this just feels like a place that Corey Connors should do well, right?
Big time.
Because you look like Dom put in the chat, bad putters win here. Decky, Kyle Stanley, JB, are guys who traditionally you don't think of as good putters, and you definitely don't think Corey Connors is a good putter, but he is a ball striker. And we know that. He's had a little bit of success here, 17th last year, 45th the year before that, but is coming off 2 consecutive missed cuts. I think his ownership will be way down there. Model also loves Russell Henley. The thing about Russell Henley is every other year he misses the cut.
Yep.
And this would be a miscut year. So if you like patterns and buy into that, you don't want to play Russell Henley. But if you like stats, I mean, he's hitting the ball really well, coming off a 14th place finish at the American Express and 2nd over in Hawaii. And that's it for me in the 8K range there.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm with you because you didn't mention him, so I'm assuming you're off of him. I'm not playing Finau either, and it feels really weird at $8,900. Like,
so I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, if I play him, he's gonna beat me. If I don't play him, he's gonna beat me. I mean, just for me, I've just given up. Like, I'm just not even gonna talk about him.
Played so well here, and it's just like, oh man, it's so cheap. But I'm off him too. I do love Usti at 88. He's 17th in my model, and again, most of these stats are old because, as you mentioned, he hasn't played since like the RSM where he DQ'd. And then he was supposed to play last weekend in Saudi, but he decided to stay home for a father-daughter dance instead.
Well, good for him, man.
Yeah, that's the story we've heard. That's what I saw. I remember seeing something. Everyone's like, I think it was like Wednesday. People were saying, "Oh, he's withdrawing and all this stuff," but I think he decided to stay home. I think there's also a problem getting his like visa to get over there or something. I don't know, but a combination of things. But apparently, he went to a father's-daughter dance over the weekend. So, yeah, that's cool with me. And he's played great at this golf course. We talk about like just approach game and ball strikers. Usti's outstanding. So I like him a lot this week. Just remember, there's always the chance that he forgets his bed and withdraws. So always an option with Usti, but I do like him. Man, what is with Webb, Jesse? What are we doing with Webb?
Buddy.
He owns this golf course.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to do. He rates out great, but he's playing so bad right now.
Yeah, it's been that way for like I feel like the last at least 6 months with him. I
Yeah.
mean, when you say playing bad, like
Not to Webb standards.
yeah, I mean, just not as good as what we traditionally think of Webb Simpson, but yeah, he's a guy that like kind of circling back to when we were talking about Berger, not necessarily the exact same thing, but or no, Bubba. From an ownership perspective, if he's low owned,
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind him a bit, but he's never
Yeah,
low owned.
true.
So
True. Especially at this price, people are going to flock to him probably.
I would think.
It's like the old school Kuchar at 7,400 or something. Like
Right,
everyone's going to play
right.
him.
Yeah.
So Dom's got a question. Who would you rather take at 30-1, Henley or Brooks?
I mean, Brooks for me.
Yeah, Brooks is that ceiling guy. It's all or nothing. Henley just doesn't. He hasn't shown the closing ability. Brooks won it twice here.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely go Brooks if I was choosing between those two.
Back to Webb is I'm intrigued, but I like Seamus at 84 just because the dude is a DK scoring machine. He gets tons of birdies. He might not have the closing gene just yet, but again, he ranks 25th in my model. He's 4th in birdie or better, third in DK scoring. He's 13th in the par fives here, 17th in the par fours, 4 to 450. I like him a lot at 84, and I'm hoping people get scared off of the weekend. Love Corey Connors with you as well. When you're talking like what the ideal golfer based on stats should be, it's pretty much Corey Connors for this golf course. So it's like, unless Corey just really poops the bed somewhere, like let's go Corey Connors at 8,300 bucks. I'm quite intrigued. I'm with you on Russell Henley, ranks 4th in my model. I always get him wrong. He's like my Tony Finau to you. Like I just always get Henley wrong when I play him. He does horrible. When I don't play him, he almost wins a golf tournament. So I'm gonna have some just because I feel like I'm gonna miss out on this at 8,200 bucks, but it's crazy. Hoagie at 81, I love too. I know it's coming off a W. It's hard to back, but the run he's in has been ridiculous, and I think it's still a bit of a discount. His approach game has been great, and he's phenomenal on par fives. So this is a guy that I'm going to keep riding this train for now. And it doesn't hurt that at this golf course, miscut last year, but then T25, T44, so he's had some success here. So I'll take a chance with some Tom Hoagie. So I love this kind of lower 8K range. Big fan of what they got on this one. 75 to 79, Answer, Horschel, Gooch, Varner, List, McNeely's gone. Fowler, Homa, Putnam, Mitchell, C. Woo, Kim. Who do you like?
Start top with Billy Horschel at 7,900 bucks. I was gonna look this up, and then you started asking me questions, and I got distracted. What's Horschel's world ranking at the moment? Yeah, he's 22nd.
Remember the stats hate him still because of all the Euro events.
Yeah, so he's 22nd in the world rankings, and like I don't know how many golfers we've been through already, but
yep.
His course history, he's not missed a cut here at least since 2015. I don't know if it goes, back further than that. That's all I've got right here on my list. And his last time out, you remember at the Farmers, finished 11th, hasn't missed a cut in forever. I mean, I don't know that anybody will play him. And while he still has me blocked on Twitter, which by law, amazing. I have to mention that. I'm willing to play him this week at $7,900. I feel like he should be low owned, and he has a lot more. He has the ability to win more so than a lot of these guys down here. Luke List at $7,700. I mean, it's obviously coming off a win, so Luke. It goes back to kind of the Corey Connors narrative we were talking about with the ball striking and bad putting and that type of shit. You can kind of max that here. I've seen Max Homa's name quite a bit already. 42nd last year, 6th the year before that. Coming off a miscut at the Farmers. He's been playing better, at least through the fall swing. And I know he's had that miscut this year, but I think he's fine at 76. Keith Mitchell's another guy who's just been playing really well recently. This is overseeded, right? This is overseeded Bermuda. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's not his normal, like, let's crush thing Bermuda grass.
Yeah. No. But, the thing is, like, he played, where did he finish last week?
I want to say, like, around 15th area. Well,
yeah. On POA, and not necessarily. And then at the Sony, he played really well. Did miss the cut at the Farmers, but he's a boomer bust type of guy here at 7,500 that I think is playable.
I love Keith Mitchell this week. I've loved him the last few weeks. I've had a lot of Keith Mitchell of late, and I watched a lot of that round on Saturday and part of Sunday, and he just couldn't putt. Yeah, it was unbelievable. He could have easily just gone scorched earth on that place. His off the tee game and approach game is locked in right now. He's third off the tee over the last 24 rounds in this field. He's fourth on par fours, 450 to 500. I'm going to go back to Keith at $7,500. He's one of the longer shots I think has a good chance to make some money this week. So I'll keep riding him. We know he can go full goofball from time to time and miss a cut like anybody can, but I think he's got massive upside at this range. I love Putnam again at $7,500. I'll keep playing him. His putter bailed, like just busted for him over the weekend, especially late Saturday into Sunday. He's a T7 here last year as well. So I like Putnam at 7,500. I like Homa. You mentioned him. Desert Golf. He can play that quite well. I'm all in on Luke List. He's first in my model. So that tells you a lot about Luke List. $7,700. You mentioned Billy Ho. I love that call. And then, if you want to talk course history, and he just came off a dub, Harold Varner, T13, miscut, T10, T38, T68. So he does like playing here. There's a lot of good plays. It's a loaded field. Like, you can make arguments for Gooch. He's played horrible here, playing in good form. Answer's always a guy, if he gets his irons going, he's one of the best iron players in golf. So I'm not like all in on those guys like I was on those early 7K guys, Homa, Putnam, Mitchell. But you can definitely make some noise. I like Billy Ho quite a bit as well, like you. I like he stood out in a big, big way. 7K to 74, another good chunk of golfers here.
Yep. Start up top with Kuchar there at 7,400. Hasn't missed a cut here since 2012.
You see, he was one of the chalkiest guys last week, by the way.
Yeah, I was very surprised at that.
Insane. That shocked me.
I don't disagree. And then he missed the cut, right?
Yep, missed the cut.
It wasn't even necessarily close. I mean, he was one under.
1 under.
Yeah, he shot 1 under for the week. But I think going back to him, I mean, obviously he burned a lot of people last night. He was like 25% owned, like almost like third or fourth highest owned guy.
Yep.
So I actually like going to him this week at 7,400. Like I said, he hasn't missed a cutter since 2012. 42nd last year, 16th the year before that. And then Keegan at 72. Hypothetically, this is going with the Corey Connors, Luke List kind of talk. He's actually played decently well around here. He's got 1 missed cut in 2017. Otherwise, since 2015, he's made the cut every year. Not necessarily great finishes, but we're down here at $7,200, so it's not like we have to have this guy win. Chucky 3 Sticks at 72 as well. Hasn't missed a cut here since 2011. Hasn't played here since 2016, but has done well here traditionally in the past, and has had a really good West Coast swing versus last year. 2 made cuts for him. Did he play last week? I don't think he did.
I don't believe he did. No.
Yeah. So he's back to his kind of West Coast form. Pat Perez, man, you boy, Flat Bill at
Ballin'
at 71. He was like my only saving grace. I had like my junkies lineup, and kind of like that single entry lineup that I make every week it only ended up with him and Jordan Spieth at the end. I had 2 of 6 on that lineup because I had a couple more guys that were at 400 got MDF'd, but I mean, 2 guys inside the top 10, it's not terrible. And Franny at 7,000. 2 of 2 made cuts at this event, and 2 of 2 this year with that 6th place finish at the American Express. He started off really hot at the Farmers and kind of fell off. And then last but not least, I've seen this name quite a bit already too. Mito at 7,000. I expect him to be popular. He's got 3 straight top 30s on tour. Did he play last week?
He played last week, yes, and I believe he missed the cut.
Yeah. So there you go. But people like him already at 7,000, so he might be high owned. I like him as well. He's never played here, but that's going to be the case for him in a lot of these places this year.
Yeah, he's pretty good for this price range. A lot of guys I like. I won't mention them all, but Russell Knox at 73. He's 18th in my model, 11th on approach. First in good drives, which helps because he's a big iron player, so it helps him hit those greens. He's 13th in proximity, 150 to 175, that main proximity we talked about. And when you look at past event history here, T53, T16, T10 in the last 3 years. So he's played some good golf here. A few other guys. I like the Keegan Bradley call. Denny McCarthy, 34th in my model, 5th around the greens. If it's a scramble, that's good. He's 13th in birdie or better. He's 4th in par 4s, 400 to 450. And missed a cut here last year, but then T59, T33. So he's made 2 out of 3 cuts at this golf course. Aaron Wise, similar to my thoughts on Keith Mitchell, Wise at $7,100 is another guy I could see winning this event if you want a long shot. Like, he's 15th in my model. He's 25th off the tee. He's 10th in DK scoring over the last 24 rounds. He rates out just, top 50 in most of the stats I'm looking at. He missed the cut, or no, he finished 66 last year, missed cut the year before, but he's also putting a ton better than he was at any time he's played this golf course. So Aaron Wise at 71. I like the Pat Perez call. There's a couple course history guys if you want to go there, but then Mito at 7,000. I'm with you as well. He's 13th in my model, 8th in approach, 8th in ball striking, 3rd in par fours, 4 to 450s, and 4th in par fours, 450 to 500. So he rates out very, very well and will be very, very popular, as you mentioned. 6K range, who you liking?
Start with Stuart Sink. He's made 3 straight cuts here. Not necessarily great finishes. His best finish is 50th, but he's making the cut, and he's got 2 straight cuts made on tour, which he hasn't played since Hawaii. I don't think he was in the field last week.
No.
Thigala missed the cut last week on the number. He's never played here, but I would go back to him at 6,700 all day. My model loves Neesmith. I'm guessing it's I got quite a bit of course history in there. He finished 7th here last year, and 34th at the Farmers. And then Nordlander, another guy who I feel like at 6,500 has a chance. He finished 22nd here last year, and his last time out was the Farmers, and he missed the cut. And then moving down just a little bit more, Eckroat, man. Austin Eckroat at
slam he had.
Yeah, 62. Did he end up missing the cut?
Yep. Yeah, he putted his way out of it.
That was sketch.
Yep.
But the model still likes him quite a bit. So I think at 6,200, if you're down here in this range, I don't think I will be at all. But he's the guy that I would look at there.
$6,900. Adam Hadwin. He's 47th in my model. He finished 16th last week at Pebble. If we want to do the Shriners comparison for desert golf, finished 6th this past year. Finished 25th at the Amex, another kind of deserty course. And we look at course history here. He's made 5 straight cuts at least. I only go back 5 years. T50, T40, T44, T43, T12. Not like amazing finishes, but he's making cuts at $6,900, which sounds pretty darn good to me. A few other guys to take a peek at here if you want course history. Martin Laird, he's 22nd in my model. He's 3rd from 150 to 175 is what we want to crush. And it makes sense because you look at his course history. Missed cut, but then 55th, 26th, 9th, 7th. So he's played well at this golf course as well. And he's always an entertaining guy. You got Nick Taylor. He's played really well here, and he's playing really well the last 3 or 4 weeks. So he's a guy you can look at 6,800. Griot's another guy at 37 or at $6,700, 36th in my model. He's 8th in proximity. He's 10th in par 4 scoring, 13th off the tee. So he's interesting at 67. Like the Thigala call. Neesmith I had checked off as well at 66. Another guy, Dougie Gim, never played here before, but really good par 5 score and off the tee. So he could be interesting at 66. I like a lot of 6K guys. Wyndham Clark's intriguing to me. Great course history here. One guy that stood out, I don't think he's played here. Let me clarify that before I open my mouth even more. No, he has not, but he's played really well over in Europe. And I don't know how he's $6,500. That's Matt Wallace. That's a guy that plays in WGCs religiously. He's 42nd in my model. He should be priced higher than 65, in my opinion. So he kind of stood out like a sore thumb. But there's a handful of guys down here. Like Poston is playing horrible golf right now. But we look at JT Poston's course history, if you're a believer in that, T11, T37, T26. So maybe you just need to get off of the POA and get going. It happens to a lot of guys. And the last one I'll ask you, because you usually ride him a lot and you did not mention him. And I have a lot more guys start off here that I have to narrow down, but I'm not mentioning all of them. But Jason Dufner is 11th in my model, Jesse. 11th in my model. Not great course history, but when it comes to the way he's striking right now, he's ball striking very, very well. He's $6,100. You can say no. You can say no. It's fine.
4 straight miscuts at the event, but before that, 8th and 2nd.
Yeah.
At 61, if you're down there, I don't think it has to happen this week.
You put a Rom Hideki build together, throw in Dufner, you could get all kinds of fun.
That's true. That's very true. Yes.
So I'm not saying you need to go a ton of Dufner, but I thought it was interesting when I looked at my model, and there's a couple guys every week where I'm like, how are they rated this way? And
here's the thing: the last 2 weeks it's worked out. Yeah. So
like they tell you, just trust it. It's like you can't pick and choose when you like it, when you don't. So it's a fun game we play here in DFS golf. But let's recap things real quick.
Isn't there a way on Fantasy National to like remove the names?
Yeah, I meant to do that. I need to just do that, but because that would have really stood out. Like,
I would
this
try
guy's
that.
great.
I would try that one week with like just making lineups that way. You know what I mean?
Maybe I'll do it for Augusta. I'll do a 20 max without even seeing them, and then I'll do a 20 max after seeing them and seeing how the two play out. Because at least the tournaments are good paydays then. So
all right, yeah,
it works out well. Or I'll pick a different tournament. We'll see. But 10K and above, who's your top play?
I mean, it's Rahm, Hideki for ownership.
Yeah, I'll take Hideki to be different. I'm curious with so many people playing the course history narrative this week, Cantlay never playing here if you get him low owned. I'm intrigued. But we'll see. 9K range, who you got?
I'm going to say Jordan Spieth.
That's a sneaky good one. Sneaky good. I will go with, I want to say Berger, but I'm scared. I'll say Scheffler for now. That's fun range. Fun range. 8K range, who do you got?
I'm going to say Corey Connors.
Yeah, I'm going to go Usti to be different, but Connors would be my dude as well. 75 to 79.
Billy Ho.
Love that play. We're on a lot of the similar mind wavelengths here. I'm gonna cheat and just say that 75 range, Mitchell, Putnam, and 76 Homa. I love those three guys a lot this week. So I'm just gonna cheat. I like those guys a lot. 7K to 7,400.
I'm gonna say Pat Perez, man.
That's sneaky nice. I'm gonna go Rusty Knox. No, I can't. I can't talk this up and not do it. Aaron Wise. I said the guy could win for Christ's sake. I got to pick him at $7,100. 6K range. Who you got?
I'm gonna say Thigala.
I like Thigala. I'm just gonna go. Where did he go here? I'm gonna go with Neesmith. I'm gonna go with Neesmith at 66. That one is kind of intriguing. I'm an idiot. Matt Wallace at 65. I got to scroll down some more. Matt Wallace at 65 is the dude I want because that's too damn cheap. Might backfire, but I like my upside there with Matty Wallace. Starting out cash this week. This is actually, I think, a good week to do cash. Smaller field and a loaded field, so you can make some noise here. 3 guys you'd start out cash lineup with.
I mean, I like your Bubba call. I go Chomo with putting him in cash. Webb, I know he's not necessarily playing that well, but his course history is good enough, in my opinion, in that price. I would think that he would be cash worthy as well. Kuchar, is without that miscut last week is cash worthy. If you don't like him, then go with Horschel.
Yeah, I did Bubba, Billy Ho, Henley. That'd be my 3 in cash, and build from there. There's a lot of options. A lot of
got 2 out of 3. That's the same. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we're working. GPP, who you starting out with, because this can get fun.
Yeah, so I like Hideki, Franny at 7,000.
Ooh.
So that leaves 8,150, and pretty much do whatever you want to. But then throw in a guy like Keith Mitchell.
Yeah, I like it. I'll let people decide their guy up top. I'll go Corey Connors, Keith Mitchell, and Matt Wallace. You guys decide the rest from there. You can go all over the board. Now the fun stuff here. I go to DraftKings Sportsbook. Who you got winning this thing?
It's a great question, man.
Well, real quick, while you're thinking, I'll give some fun stats that Dom left us a nice present here. There's a tweet from Jeff on the Fantasy Grind on Twitter, and he mentioned 10 of the last 11 winners have had a T7 or better in one of their last 5 starts prior to the Waste Management. Each of the past 6 winners of the Waste Management have finished T5 or better at this event in a season prior to their win. Might not affect your answer, but I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, there's be a lot of searching and figuring that shit out. I mean, from like a win equity perspective, I mean, Bubba at 40 is not terrible. I know he's never won here, but I don't think that's too awful bad. Pat Perez, but maybe go with more like maybe potentially a top 10 with Pat at plus 700.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like they laid these odds out pretty good. There's nothing that stands out to me that's like, yes, I would definitely bet that if I had the ability to, and I didn't live in a state that refuses to legalize sports betting.
I like Connors at 50. That stands out to me. I'm a sucker for Homa because I think he's good enough to win this at 70. Yeah, I like the Perez call, the top 10 for sure. But going deeper, just some fun ones if you want to get frisky with it. Man, Joel Domino was close last week. I don't know if he can bounce back, but he was damn close, and he's 130. So that's an interesting number to me. Other than that, though, it's hard to see a long shot winning in this field because usually we don't see long shots beating this kind of a field at all. It happens from time to time, but I think I'd stick around like that Max Homa, Corey Connors, that kind of range for me. Billy Ho at 50 is interesting from what we've seen from him. And maybe that number changes. Usti at 35 was another one that kind of could be a fun one, but in reality, I think we have to imagine the big boys are going to win.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why you would probably maybe potentially want to go with the John Rahm Cincinnati Bengals parlay at +7 179.
Dude, how much is Houday going to win by on Sunday?
Millions.
For those that haven't kept track, Jesse is a Bengals fan, and I'm rooting for the Bengals as well. So let's get some this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a great game.
It is for sure. But before we get there, any final thoughts on the Waste Management Open that will lead us to kickoff of the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I got nothing. This is the start of a really good stretch of golf here. So very excited for the next few weeks and 56 days until the Masters.
There you go. 56 days of the Masters, 5 awesome tournaments up till then. Like we got some great golf, great fields. The Riv next week, another awesome one on tap. And then we start heading east to some awesome Florida golf. It's going to be great. But we got 135 golfers, still T65 and ties, unless they put MDF out there. We don't know about it. We got T65 and ties. Only one golf course. We're going to have Shot Tracker the whole time. So let's have some fun with it. Enjoy the television coverage too, because it's actually usually pretty good because those closing holes are awesome on this golf course. So it's
ESPN
fun.
Plus has been good too. So I'm really excited to see when it's not 2 or 3 golf courses and AMs out there and shit like that. This should be like what we really get for the rest of the year.
Yeah, for sure. But until then, if you guys have any questions, hit us up in the Fantasy DJs Discord or just hit us up on Twitter. Jesse is at DFS Golf Gods. I'm at BDentric, and good luck, everybody. We'll catch you guys next week.